Habari za kushinda. Mmeshindaje? Sasa mimi niko na sauti kuwashinda nyinyi nyote. Mimi niko na sauti kubwa sana. So nikisema habari za kushinda nataka nisikie sauti. Habari za kushinda? Okay. Good afternoon. Maybe Kiswahili is becoming good afternoon. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone. I want to start by thanking everyone, each and every one of you, for making it a point, for sparing your time to come here today. We are talking about parenting. But before I start, I would want us to start with a word of prayer. I feel that it is in order if we can start with a word of prayer. Maybe we have one volunteer who can pray for us before we start.
Okay, let's pray. Father, we thank you for the blessing of this day. Thank you for this opportunity that you've granted unto us. As we are going to get into this issue of parenting, play us and give us an understanding and use us to it according to your will. It's our prayer in Jesus' name.
Thank you. My name is Violet Moke. Violet Moke, I'm a human resource officer, an employee of Kisii County Government. I'm also a counselor and a career coach. Yeah. So we are talking about parenting. I know most of you here are young people, and we only have a few numbers of people who maybe can qualify to be parents, but I also want us to share our experiences as children. We can also talk about children in terms of parenting. You as a child, what has been your parenting? How has your parent done the parenting to you? Is it good? Is it bad? What is your take in it? So today, let me start about parenting. What is the definition of parenting? Parenting is a process of raising children with protection and care in order to ensure their healthy development into adulthood. For those of you who are parents like me, I'm a parent, I'm a mother of one. Parenting starts immediately you realize that you've done what? You've conceived. The moment you realize I've conceived as a parent, and it does not only apply for the mothers, even the fathers in the house. You also conceive, because you're together in that journey. The moment you realize that you're going to become a parent, that is the moment you start thinking as a parent. You start investing, both emotionally, both psychologically, both physically, be it financially, to prepare that child that you're going to bring forth. So what does parenting really mean? Parenting means raising of a child by its parents. Parenting does not only apply for biological parents. We have cases where we realize that their parents were not able to have children and maybe they adopt. So that one does not deny those parents to become parents. So raising a child by its parents is one of becoming a parent. It can be a process of raising a child through adoption, maybe raising a child who's from a relative. You also become a parent. Parenting means taking care of someone in a manner as a parent. Any other person. You can be an older sibling, and maybe in the process your parents maybe have passed on, and you become the parent to take charge. So that process of you taking care of your young siblings also makes you a what? A parent. The job of parenting aims to ensure children are healthy and safe. It also prepares children for life as productive adults, transmit cultural values, and many more things. So parenting does not only entail about raising the kid, maybe feeding the kid, clothing them. It also entails a process where you ensure that the children are safe, the safety of the children. How do we ensure that the safety of the children is taken care of? You're going to learn that as we progress. Let us talk about the parenting styles in psychology. We have 4 parenting styles in psychology. 1, there is the authoritarian parent style. We have the authoritative parenting style. We have the permissive parenting style. And we have the fourth one, which is the uninvolved, neglectful parenting style. We want to start by explaining about each and every type of parenting. Before we go to the styles, we learned that your parenting style can affect everything from your child's self-esteem to their physical health and to how they relate to others. So all these parenting styles we're going to talk about, we're going to learn on how they affect directly the child's growth, their physical growth, their health, their self-esteem, and even their social what? Social aspect. It is important to ensure your parenting style is supporting healthy growth and development of your child, because the way you interact with your child and how you discipline them will affect them for the rest of their lives. Each style takes a different approach in raising children, and it offers different pros and cons, and it can be identified by a number of different characteristics. There's a very close relationship between the type of parenting style and the children's behavior. Different parenting styles can lead to child development and different outcomes. Every parenting style has an outcome of how the child is going to become. That is why we're going to learn about each and every style. See how, if you're an authoritarian parent, what is the outcome of your child? The kind of a person you're going to bring forth. These parenting styles are also called Diana boundary parenting styles. They can be categorized into two dimensions of parenting behavior and style. We have two dimensions. We have the demandingness. What is demandingness? It refers to an extent to which parents control their child's behavior and demand their maturity. Number two, the responsiveness. Responsiveness refers to the degree to which parents are accepting and sensitive to their child's emotional needs. Two styles, right? We have the demandingness and we have the responsive. Now let us find out from our four types of parenting, where do we have the demandingness and where do we have the responsiveness? Let's start with the authoritarian style of parenting. Authoritarian. What does authoritarian mean? Authoritarian, from that word, from the word itself, it means what? Authority. In this style of parenting, parents have a high demandness and low responsive. Authoritarian parents have a high level of parenting control and low levels of parenting responsiveness. These types of parents set rules and enforce boundaries by having open discussions, providing guidance, and using reasoning. High demandness, low what? Responsiveness. This type of parents set rules and enforce boundaries by having open discussions, by providing guidance and using what? Reasoning. These parents provide their children with a high level of parental control. Number two, they also this parenting style demand high standards. They enforce very strict rules to their children and orders. And any attempt to reason with them is seen as a what? A backtalk. If you have parents who have an authoritarian type of parenting, you realize that your parents impose rules. They set very strict rules. And any attempt to reason with them, the lolos feel like you're doing what? You're talking back to them. Children with authoritarian parents feel their opinions don't matter, which make them feel a lack of control over their lives. And this can lead to a lot of anxiety, anger. This can lead to a lot of what? Anxiety and anger. Children of authoritarian parents often feel like they have to live up to their parents' set of rules. There is no clear reasoning, even if there's no clear reasoning. So as long as a parent wants you to be, this is how we're going to do it. There are rules. You have to adhere to those rules. There is no reasoning. And if you try, you want maybe to talk back like, oh, mom, this is not fair. No, they feel like you're talking back to them. So you don't have that time to have your own life, to have your own reasoning, and maybe to explore many alternatives. Children of authoritarian parents often feel like they have to live to their parents' set of rules. So in other words, you live a life that your parents want you to live. You don't have time to live your own life. It is common for these children to experience harsh punishment if they fall short in any way. This type of parenting imposes harsh punishments. Regardless of their severity, this parenting style is often more shaming to the children other than aiding them learn and growth. These are the type of parents who are more like, they're shaming, they criticize. We ni mtoto mbaya, we mbona si kama mtoto fulani. You know, there's nothing good. There's no day you wake up and find that, oh, I've done this one right. Every other time you try to do anything, they feel like, if it is not according to their rules, then whatever you are doing is not what? Is not right. What are the disciplinary methods for this type of parents? We realize that their style is confrontative. Parenting style number 2, authoritative style of parenting. In this style, parents are affectionate and supportive. We first learned about the authoritarian style of parenting. Now we have the authoritative. These two parenting styles may have the same name. The names may seem like they're the same, but their styles are different. For authoritative style of parenting, these parents are affectionate and supportive, unlike the authoritarian type of parenting. They respect their children's boundaries. In this parenting style, parents provide children with a lot of freedom and encourage independence. They allow bi-directional communication. This is a style of parenting that is also known as democratic. You are able to do what? To have a dialogue. You are able to reason with your parent. It is a bit more democratic. The children from authoritative parents are cherished based on the fact that they appear happier and content, they are more independent, they are more active, they achieve high academic performance, they develop good self-esteem, that is high self-esteem, they're able to interact with their peers using competent social skills. They exhibit less violent tendencies. The children from this type of parenting also are securely attached. They have better mental health, experience less depression and anxiety. They are less suicidal, and they are less dependent on alcohol and drug abuse. These parents handle discipline strategies differently. When children act out, authoritative parents talk to them through their behavior and explain the consequences. In this set of parenting, the children learn that in every action there are consequences. So the children are able to be guided through. If you do this, this is what is going to happen. Unlike the authoritarian type of parenting where there's no explanation, there's no reason, these are the rules, you have to comply. The parents in this parenting style, they are warm and attuned to their children's feelings and concern. They are gentle, and guidance is done while maintaining healthy limits. They also do not shame their children for their mistakes, but instead focus in helping them learn and grow. Permissive parenting style. What is permissive parenting style? This style offers a high level of warmth and comfort toward their children, but do not set healthy boundaries. They are very warm, they give you comfort, but there are no rules. They place emphasis on their children liking them. These are the kind of parents who would want you to like them. Mi mama angu anichapi, mi mama angu ni mzuri. They emphasize so much in you liking them, which generally means taking a step back and not saying no. This type of parents do not say no, because they do not want to offend you, they only want you to like them. Or providing consequences about the actions for their children. As a result, this type of parenting lacks structure. Children of permissive parenting may also have challenges academically and may experience low self-esteem. Permissive parenting are unlikely to punish their children for their actions, as they are uncomfortable putting their foot forward and enforcing boundaries. They tend to be more focused and they want to be viewed in a light perspective by their children. We have the parenting style number 4, which is the uninvolved, the neglectful. Uninvolved. These parents are not there. They're uninvolved. They're neglectful. By the definition of its name, this style involves a lack of attunement to a child's needs. There are various reasons why parents may not devote their time and energy to engage with their children. What are the reasons that maybe a parent may not be able to involve his time or energy to the children? One can be deaf. Another thing can be maybe if we have a parent who's battling substance abuse, we have an absentee parent. Those are the type of parenting style. Uninvolved parenting has been connected with most problematic outcomes for the children. 1. Increased risk of mental health disorders and challenges in forming healthy relationships. This type of children who have been raised in an involved parenting style, they have increased risk of having mental disorders, and also they have a challenge in forming healthy relationships. They have a challenge with their children's self-esteem. The children suffer a lot of low self-esteem because of the uninvolved parent. They are neglected. There is a lot of anger exhibited in these children, anxiety, depression, and a lot of more mental illnesses. Uninvolved parents do not usually use punishment as they are untuned by their children's activities. They're not there. So punishment and discipline is not there. They also do not provide positive affirmation or praise. Why? Because they're not there. Let us see on how we are going to establish good relationships between the parents and the children. One way of establishing good relationship with your child is by showing them love. Saying, I love you. Human touch and affection are needed at any stages of life, right from the infant, when the child is born, all the way to teenage, up to adulthood. It feels good when you go to your home and you realize that ukifika, your mom just said, nakupenda. Msichana wangu, na leo uko mrembo. I love you so much. How does it feel? Feels good. Okay. Set boundaries, rules, and consequences. We realize that a child is like a plain paper. Once a child is born, there's nothing he knows. So if you teach that child that there are rules, and you're going to have boundaries, the child is going to align into what you're teaching them. So by setting boundaries, rules, and consequences, you enable that child to grow with structure and to learn the world around them. Because once they realize there are consequences, if I do this is the consequences. So the child grows all the way into adulthood, knowing that if I do something that is bad, there are consequences in life. Number 2, talk to your children about what you expect. How many of us have had a chance to have dialogue with our parents while we are growing up? Be it in school, when you go to school, maybe you have failed and your parent just gives you a moment like, sit down, what is happening? Then you're allowed to express yourself freely. Maybe you're having a problem with your teacher, maybe you're having a problem, you lack a textbook for that subject, maybe usiki like maths, mimi sielewi. How many of us have had that chance? Very few of us. So we realize that by talking to your child about what you expect, and making sure they understand, it enables that child to learn on how to grow well into a good adult. Make sure that you set consequences. You set rules and their consequences. Put them in place and be consistent in them. That is one way of doing what? Showing love to your child. Number 2, listen and empathize. I was asking, how many of us have had a chance where your parent has to sit down, spare some time, does whatever he's doing, and listens to you? We realize that most of us have been raised by parents who could not have given us an ear. They speak, you do what? You listen. You've never even had a chance to speak and let them listen. So the parenting style that we've always had one way. It is the parent. They speak. They set boundaries. They set rules. What is your work? To follow. Comply. No communication, no nothing. So by listening to your child, that connection, you start by talking and listening. You acknowledge, it shows that you acknowledge your child's feeling. So listening is very important in parenting because it shows them that you understand and you're able to reassure them that you're there to help them whenever they need what? They need help. It also helps the parent to see things from the child's perspective. Why am I not doing well in school? Every other parent wants us to pass. We've been raised by parents who believe that you're getting an A, getting an A minor, that is the perfect child. So that is where they are. The only thing they want is perfection. They want a child to be bright. But how many parents have taken a moment to listen to their children and get to know why is my child not doing well in school? Why is he passing or not passing this subject? So by giving a child a chance to talk and to listen, it shows them that you're seeing things from their perspective. And this one, we realize that listening, communication is one way of bonding. It creates a very good connection between you and your child. By empathizing with your child, it fosters mutual respect. You empathize. That is mutual what? Respect. Playing together. How many of us have ever had a chance to play with our parents? You can see Jairus laughing. Jairus. Maybe you tell us, have you ever had a chance to play with your dad?
Yeah, we'll have 5 minutes conversation.
Playing, not at all. No. Like our parents never had a chance to play with us. So playing is very important in a child's development. It is through playing that a child develops language skills, expresses emotions. Like now Jairus, if Jairus had a son, wanacheza na kijana yake, amemfunga. No, umenifunga. You'll get to realize your child's what? Emotions. Are you seeing that? So playing is very, very, very vital. When we do it with our children, it strengthens. It's a funny way of strengthening our relationships. Because amekushinda, umemshinda, unamwona na lia, then he breaks down. No. Let us go back again. Now it is me. Are you seeing that? So it is a funny way of strengthening your relationship with your child. It does not matter which game you play with your child. So as long as you have that undivided attention. Talk to your child. Talking. We've been saying talking. Talking to your child, very important. Eat together. Okay, me, I don't know if we've ever had that chance because naona sapa inafika tunakula haraka tumefanya homework, we go to bed. I don't remember a day that I had a chance. We had a dining table. Me, I'm brought up in a town. Ni mtoto wa tao. But there's kuna sitting room, kuna coffee. Then there's a dining table. Ilikuwa ni mnakimbia mnaekewa chakula, you eat quickly and you do what? Mukalali. There's no day I can remember I had a chance to eat with my parents. Are you seeing that? Create family rituals. How many of us have family rituals? Yes. Very good. Very good. What ritual is that? Maybe if you can share with us kindly.
I think the end of the year, I think Christmas period, we usually have we paint our rooms. Every you're given, you choose your own paints.
Yes.
You go paint your rooms.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically how we born.
You bond with your parents. That's good. Family rituals, very, very important. These family rituals show acceptance to your child because you're able to bond. What you're saying is that we've had parents who are very present in our lives but not very present in our lives. There's no communication, there's no eating together, there is no bonding, there is no sharing, no dialogue, they're just parents. Support them even when you don't agree with their choices by guiding them with love. Now this one applies that when your children are they're in teenage, maybe after high school they want to choose courses. When I first came here, I remember mentioning that the course I'm doing is not the course I really wanted to do. Most of what we are doing, like most of you are in campus, most of what you are doing, it is something that has been imposed in you. A parent thinks that medicine is the best course, so you have to be a what? You have to be a doctor. If you don't become a doctor, you have to do nursing. If you don't do nursing, anything medical, eh? Mwalimu, yes. Mwalimu. But do you want to be a teacher? Do you? No. Is there any other moment or time your parent amekuuliza what do you want to be and why do you want to become whatever you want to be? No. So we are encouraged to support our children even when we don't agree with them or with their choices. But if it means guiding, let us guide them with what? With love. Let us look on the ways to strengthen the parent-child relationship. Let us see why strengthening of parent-child relationship is important. Why is it important that we need to strengthen our relationships? It nurtures the physical aspect of a child's life. What do I mean by physical? Your physique, your appearance. You look healthy. You look composed, you know. So it does what? It nurtures the physical aspect of a child's life. Emotional, social development of a child. Okay, we've had friends in colleges or wherever we are, even at work, and you realize people saying, "Ay, kama ni vayo, yule anakuanga antisocial, huyu yake unaweza muuliza kitu kweli. Anakuanga anti what? Antisocial. Why is it so? Why? That is why we need to strengthen our what? Our relationships between the parents and the children. The bond relationship lays a foundation for the child's personality, life choices, and the overall behavior. You've gone to social gatherings, then you see a child. Who was with us at the mental health walk? There was that girl that was dancing. What can you take about that girl? How old is that girl? About 8. She was able to stand in front of people, say her name, say what she does, very confident. I mean, like every person in the room liked her personality. Like, wow. Everyone was like, wow. What does that tell you? Those bonds that we have with our parents, they play a very key role in who we become. They play a very big role in our personalities and also our overall what? Behavior. Why we need to strengthen the parent and child relationship, it's because it affects the strength of their physical, social, mental, and psychological and emotional growth. Now let us look at the benefits. What is the outcome when we have a very good relation between a parent and a what? And a child. These children grow with secure and healthy attachments to their parents and stand a better chance of developing happy, content relationships with others in their life. The children who have been raised with parents who have a good relationship with them, they grow with a secure and healthy what? Attachment. They're able to stand a better chance in life because they develop happy, content relationships. We are social beings. As humans, we are social beings, be it at school, be it in your place of work, be it where you live. There are people you live, like I was saying, the antisocial people. We realize that most of these things, the person I am today, the person I've become today, it goes way back into my what? Into my childhood. A child who has a secure relationship with their parents learns to regulate what? Emotions. Is able to cope well under what? Under stress and difficult situations. It promotes the child's mental health, linguistic, and emotional what? Development. We mentioned earlier on that playing with your child fosters what? Language development. It promotes the child it helps the child exhibit optimistic and confident social behavior. You become optimistic. You become that kind of a person who knows everything is what? Possible. It can be done. It can happen. It is well with me. No matter the challenges, it is well. There is that reassurance that you've always had way back into your childhood from your parents, that reassuring you that I'll always be there for you. Healthy parents' involvement and interventions in a child's day-to-day life lay foundation for better social and academic what? Skills. We are told that successful parents raise what? Successful kids. Why is it so? Yeah. Nani hajawahi sikia hivyo? Me have heard, successful parents raise successful kids, and I'm like, okay, so is it like we don't have successful kids from unsuccessful parents? The reason why we say that healthy parents' involvement and intervention in our child's day-to-day life lays foundation to a better social and academic skills. There is that confidence you build in your child. There is that communication that has been fostered between you and your child. There is that understanding. There is that empathizing. Are you seeing why we are saying that by healthy involvement with your children, you build what? You foster good academic skills. Now, it also helps in securing attachments that lead to a healthy social, environmental, cognitive, and motivational development. These children gain strong problem-solving skills when they have a positive relationship with their parents. Problem solving, it is one of the most skills that a lot of us are very poor in. Most of us are very poor in solving what? Problems. And we realize that it is a skill that is learned earlier on in life. And it is a skill that we learn from our what? From our parents. How do we learn that skill? Interaction. Talking to our parents. Negotiating. Being diplomatic. You talk, I listen. I talk, you listen. You say, I agree. You say, I disagree. Eventually we do what? We agree. That is the diplomacy we're talking about. So you're able to have those problem-solving skills. You're able to master them very well. Because right from your childhood, you've been raised to do what? To be diplomatic. Okay. Now, I want to talk about parental skills. What is my conclusion in that? We are saying as parents, let us have a warm, loving interaction with our children. Treat every interaction as an opportunity to connect with your child. Be warm in your expressions. Give eye contact, smile, and encourage what? Interaction. Number 2, have boundaries, rules, and what? And consequences. Children need structure and guidance. Talk to your child about what you expect of them and make sure they do what? They understand. Yeah, you can say this is what you want them to, you expect of them. But have they understood? Have they understood? Do they know why you have those expectations about them? They need to understand. Number 3, listen and empathize with your child. Listening. Who doesn't want to be listened to? Basically, as old I am, I would want someone to listen to me. I really want to, when I'm talking, someone to listen to me, someone to understand me. And feel. Are you saying that? Someone to feel me. and to empathize. I don't want someone to judge me. We talked about parents who are what? Judgmental, right? Acknowledge your child's feeling, show them you understand, and reassure them that you're there to help them whenever they do what? They have problems. Problem solving. Help your child to solve problems, be a good role model, and show them how to behave through your own actions. As a parent, you are a what? You're a role model. I was talking about very successful parents raising what? Successful children. I was asking, why is it so? Why is it so? Why do we also always hear that successful parents raise successful children? It is because they become a what? They are their own children's role model. Wanasema nini, what charity starts what? At home. So, help your child solve problems, be a good role model, show them how to behave through your own actions. When you work with your children to find solutions, they learn on how to deal with difficulties in an appropriate way. Now, up to there. Maybe a question? Before I proceed, I want to go to trauma. I want to preach all the way. Someone who has a question, who has a concern.
Question.
Yes.
In whatever that you mentioned, it doesn't apply to most African parents unless they are exposed or at least they travel outside country. Is then they can be such parents as yourself. What could be the problem to our African parents? Because I really don't understand. All that does not apply in an African home unless that parent is exposed or maybe they have traveled to the US or other countries.
Maybe someone to help me answer that. Yeah.
Okay, all that has been said does not apply in the African family. What could be the problem?
Okay, maybe to answer that, I can say that is our parents. That is the best way they knew on how to offer parenting. We cannot blame them for that. Our culture, let us go back to our culture. That is the only way, the best way they knew on how to do it. So we are the parents now. Let us talk for us, the new parents, the millennium parents, the parents of 21st what? Century. That is why we are here to learn on how we can do what? Be proper parents, be better parents. I'm not saying that we are going to be 100%. We're not going to be perfect here because it is not something that we're going to do overnight. We're not going to learn and practice it overnight. We're going to do what? It is going to take practice and time and that willingness to do what? To learn. So for most of you here who are not yet parents, maybe it is a one way of doing what? Learning. Yes, Mr. Jairus.
I also wanted to add on what you said.
Yes.
I believe that the parenting for most of us, especially from the 90s, and the way beyond, it has been cultural teachings on what parenting should be. And over time, as time goes by, we have started unlearning some of those things because clearly they didn't work, or clearly they're not working in the kind of the type of people that it turned out to be. And over time, now there is such information that we are learning that is supposed to have a transformational kind of aspect of parenting that should help us raise maybe a better generation than how we have been raised. So I believe hugely it's on what culture taught our parents what parenting should be.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And maybe it's all about literacy.
Illiteracy.
You cannot get informed just at your farm in the village. Our parents, maybe they were not exposed. Okay, our parents maybe they were not exposed. But maybe sometimes I think it's the kind of lifestyle we take. Poverty pushes our parents into being lions and lionesses into our lives so that we work hard. Ukipewa freedom. I was raised up by a foster parent who comes from the US. That lady could not beat us as a form of discipline. We could sit down, discuss our problems before you take breakfast. So it was like when my brothers could come to this other home, they could say, we cannot manage because life is just that way. And when life is that way, it means you have something that is a bit different from the old man. So I believe this poverty issue and the illiteracy issue makes our parents look like,
Let us look at this perspective. Put yourself in that parent's shoe first. These parents were wise. As much as they were facing whatever they were facing, they were wise. Why do I say this? Look at the era that our parents were growing up. Our parents were getting like 11 kids, siblings. They are 11 siblings. But if you look at the current status, you get that children are born like 2, 3. The amount that someone can go far is around 4 kids with the current generation. So our parents were wise for them to have to bring up such kind of a family setup. It's only that the life that we are saying, the way my other friend was saying, that they can be treated well, but it was very expensive. And with the modern society nowadays, everything is at hand. You need to work hard to get it. But in the current, in the other generation which our parents grew up, it was very, wenye walikuanga privileged ni wale wenye walikuwa wamezaliwa in the colonial period. They were the ones the parents walikuwa na interact with the colonialists. Those were the people who could get such life. But with our parents, having a family of 11 kids, all of them, you have to take them to the farm, of which nowadays, us, we don't take our children to the farms. They know nothing about going to the farms. Or how many of you here can go to the shamba, upewe laini hivi, ulime the whole day? Like 2 out of the whole room. That shows that the way we were treated, and the way our parents were treated were totally different. So them, they had wisdom, but lacked finances. Ours have finances, but they don't have the wisdom to take care of us. As parents who are raising our kids right now, you find a small issue you can't handle. That is why you have many issues facing our children. But in the past, a community could be called, council of elders, they talk about the issue.
Majorly what we all battle with, especially when it comes to that way of the past, is corporal punishment. And I think once you take that out of that whole concept and look at every other thing that they did, I think it solves some of the parenting problems. For example, I think in the past, children were raised by the community. So you were a child, but you had like 10 other parents. You had your aunts, you had people who actually cared for you. Like you were surrounded by a whole community of people. And I think in our society, we have actually lost that. In our society, ni mtoto wangu ni wangu. Unamwambia nini na ni mtoto wangu. You know, such stuff. So I think there are great aspects that were really important in that parenting style that I don't think we're really focusing on. And I think culture to me is sort of important. I think even when you bring a child into this world, you need to have identified your way of life as a parent, your culture as a parent. Because like it or not, there is the culture you will pass down to that child. So I think it's important for us to identify what we would like to pass that down, and then that's culture to us. So, yeah, yes.
So from the perspective of traditional basis in even contemporary kind of parenting. Thank you very much. That's very important.
Na tukiendelea vitu zitaendelea kuchange, zitaendelea tukukua hivi. If kitambo tuwa zimesema ni wa community based hivi, so itaendelea kufanyika. Hata tukiendelea kuongea maneno msingi hapa na whatever and all the mafunzo, hata Bible yenyewe kama tulivyobeba ama vile tunaambiwa, siku zikiendelea kuisha, people will be self-love, watakuwa self-centered wengi, and that's what we see basically saa hii inaendelea na itaendelea tu kuzidi. Disrespect of parents itakuwa too high, so as much as we are trying to control it, that is, it has to happen ontologically, the future has to exist vile nipangwa. So sijui, yeah.
The last comment.
Yeah.
I think also to just add something she has said, something else that I think was of great value is that as children were being brought together, so you see like the way now they're struggling to fight to have platforms like this. In a traditional setting, they had created platforms like this. So you found that children probably with different age groups, you had a bunch of kids and they would get a professional to just teach you how to hunt, you know. So they had a platform, even if parenting, even if you have been born in a community and your parents are completely absent, you would never have felt that absenteeism because you probably you would get gathered and get taught things together, get taught lady mannerisms and stuff like that. And so at the end of the day, because I think the whole concept of parenting is to ensure we bring out children or we bring out adults who can be independent on their own and who can maneuver life on their own. And I think that setup also did the same. So it attained the end goal. So they brought people together, they taught them, they helped them maneuver life and taught them skills at a very young age. I think that's something that's missing in this kind of parenting.
Thank you.
And maybe some of us are trying to not to advocate for culture because we want to be favored. Let's be honest. Sahi mtu hataki mambo ya culture juu itamzuia kupiga starehe zake huku. So culture is still important.
I think we should get away. Nilikuwa nasema if kama ni kupiga sherehe that is
Yes.
I feel like here your culture, we have to find a way to incorporate culture. Okay, the traditional way of your point, and now the modern one. Because kuna mwingine ukiambia mtu kama mimi sometimes ninaweza kuwa very rebellious. So you can tell me nikasirike, you know. So I feel like there is a way we can incorporate the traditional way of doing things, ama the cultural positive things with the modernization, ama the Generation Z setup.
Before you guys continue, there's one thing you should understand. The aspect of culture. In the back of your mind, when you're saying something about culture, what is culture? Then, when you understand that aspect of culture, then put out your point. By first explaining your aspect of culture, the way you view it, then it will enable us to understand your point and also the way we are discussing. Thank you. Yes, Edna was saying something.
Oh, Edna,
Yes.
then tuendelee tafadhali because of time.
I was saying this. You know, with culture, all of us with culture, it only depends how you understand it. Look at the fashion. Our mothers used to put miniskirts in the late 70s. It's still coming back, but in a modern way. We used to put on stilettos. Them they used to put on pumps. You see, so culture is still revolving around our generation, but it's the way as young people, the way we are taking it. Naona si tunajua na .com, but ile culture ni ile dress ulikuwa unavaa inafika hapa bado ndio tunavaa sasa. Hipster imekuja imekuwa like now you can see about The belly bottoms, they were starting for hipsters, they were starting for belly bottom. Starting to quiet. They're still coming back, but in a different material, in a different fashion. You see, even the dreadlocks, the Mau used to do dreadlocks, but now it is trending. So what I would say, it's still culture, but it is a modernized what? Culture.
They even used to shave mud like
Yes. Now it's coming back. The Bulgarians will initiate another culture. So with time we'll get everybody shaving and it will trend. So I don't see why we are judging culture with parenting.
Now, to sum all that, let us go back to the definition of parenting. What is parenting? Maybe one person can tell us what is parenting. What is parenting? Umesahau? Sema tu Kiswahili, hizo maneno unganisha tu.
Oh, you define.
I defined parenting. What is parenting? No, define in your own way.
My own way.
Yes.
Parenting is the bringing up of a child, fully, spiritually, mentally, physically, socially.
Yes.
Yes. In all spheres.
And I also mentioned that one aspect of parenting is to do what? To instill morals. So all this you're talking about, culture, it goes back to what? Morals. Now, which are the good morals that you want to instill to your child? What are the good morals you want to pass on to your? Now, that is what we want to talk about. Or that is where we have to now center our attention to. As parents, we should strive to raise children who have got what? Good morals. We still have the society that we used to have back then in the villages, in our ancestors' way of life. We bring children who have good morals and who can be better adults and fit adults for what? To the society. So it goes back to morals. What are the good morals? As much as we are talking about the 4 types of parenting styles, forget about the neglect and the uninvolved and the neglectful parenting style. The 3 parenting styles need to have what? Morals. So I think we Mr. Jairus, we need to set aside another day for defining the good morals and the bad morals, yeah, because I think if we stick there, we're going to use the whole day, the whole night, and we're not going to move. Sawa sawa. Maybe we should set aside for another day to define the good morals as parents we're supposed to pass on to our children. What is trauma? The definition of trauma. Trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event. It is how you react. It is a response, e.g. an accident, a rape case, or a natural disaster. And what is childhood trauma? When a child feels intensely threatened by an event he or she is involved in or witnessed. We call that an event of what? Trauma. This is an event that intensely threatens what? A child. Be it something she's involved in, or he's been involved in, or has done what? Witnessed. There is a range of traumatic events, and there are types of trauma to which children and adolescents can be exposed to. Maybe you should name a few, to name but a few. What are these events that a child can be exposed to?
Rape.
Rape, yes.
Early marriage.
Early marriage, Violence, thank you.
Family conflicts, yes.
Family conflict, yes. Separation, thank you. Accident, yes.
Eating a bit.
Death, loss of a parent, that is a loss, death of a parent, yes. Zapa is saying here eating habits. I don't know, is it trauma?
Maybe it can be a symptom or a response
Yeah.
Something.
of
Trauma.
Yeah. Thank you. Now let us talk about childhood trauma in parenting. This is an expose of trauma in early childhood, namely abuse or neglect that has potential to derail a parent's capacity to attend to their children. What is childhood trauma? This is the exposure of trauma in early childhood. This is a parent here, this is Violet here. Violet is a parent. But she has what? Childhood. It goes way back to my childhood. And now it is resurfacing in adulthood. And now into my parenting. This is an exposure of trauma in early childhood, namely abuse or neglect, and has potential to derail your capacity as a parent to attend to your children's needs, especially in moments of distress, and it has found impact and it has found impact to their children's attachment style. We're also going to talk about attachment styles here so that we can get to know what are the attachment styles. What are the effects of early traumatic experiences? There are many risks and factors that can make the transition to parenthood difficult, even in the best circumstances. One such factor is the experience of parental childhood trauma, which has the potential to affect parent-child relationship, both in terms of attachment, parenting styles, and what? Reflective functioning. Kuna mtu ananielewa? Thank you. Early experiences of trauma and attachment system. The experience of trauma during childhood has been found to affect different domains of mental health and general what? Well-being. The experience of childhood has been found to do what? To affect different domains of mental health and our general well-being. For example, an exposure to insensitive, maltreating, or neglectful caretaking can affect a child's sense of what? Safety and security, which is essential to the development of secure what? Attachment. Are we seeing how these things do what? Thank you. Security, which is essential for development of secure attachment, where a child perceives their caretaker as their primary attachment figure and as a source of what? Distress. This is a child who's been raised by a nanny. And maybe there's something a nanny used to do to the child. The child is small, he may not understand, he cannot even comprehend what is being done to him or her. But these things will resurface later in life because that is the what? He perceives that caretaker as the primary what? Attachment figure. As such, attachment working models have shown to remain generally constant over time, hence affecting attachment representations later into what? Adulthood. Parenting reflective function. What is parenting? Parental reflective function. This is the capacity to perceive and interpret human behavior in terms of intentional mental states, such as needs, desires, goals, beliefs, etc. This is the capacity to perceive what? Perceive and interpret human behavior. Mentalization is imperative for healthy human development, and more importantly, it is born out of parent-child relationship. Though human beings are born with a mechanism to enable mentalization, it is a skill developed through mutual interactions between the child and their caregiver. This is a skill that is developed through what? Interactions between the child and the caregiver. That is why the caregiver, who is the parent, is very important in a what? In a child's life. Through parental modeling, children learn to identify their own effects and through parenting modeling, children learn to identify their own affects and cognitions and those of others in order to communicate them and empathize them appropriately. When this relationship becomes altered by the experience of traumatic events, without the means to process and resolve trauma, then mentalization is done what? Compromised. We say parents who have survived traumatic experiences can develop a tendency to experience their children as objects of transference, hence projecting unto them their own unmet needs from childhood. Jairus, I can see you nodding. I can see you nodding. Would you want to expound on that? You know, I'm looking for the best language to explain. Mm-hmm.
I think in a scenario,
Yes.
let's say I went through a very traumatic kind of experience as a child,
Yes.
and whenever I could mess, ilikuwa tu whenever I do anything, before we have that dialogue with my parent aniambie hapo umekosa, na kwa sababu umekosa nitakuta ujinga kwa kupiga, ama kwa sababu umekosa I'm going to give you such and such a punishment.
Yes.
If I went through an experience where probably corporal punishment was the mode of correction, if I do not undergo a process of unlearning that is how correction should be administered, then it will directly reflect in my parenting as an adult, because then once my child messes, before anything, it is, A few minutes ago, Edna was showing us a video of a 3-year-old, probably around 3 or even less, who was being punished by a parent akionyesha kufanya homework. Anamwambia sijui afanye nini, and if she does not do that, anamchapa. I'm like, how do you do that? This is a child who does not know what is right, what is wrong, and you're, literally slapping them as hard as you could slap an adult. So I feel like those are some of the cases of unlearned kind of socialization that we directly transfer to our children. We have them as objects of transference.
Yes. Kabisa.
Okay.
Yes.
See, in that aspect, let me take it from a motherly brain. Kuna wale single mothers. It is very difficult for them to unlearn what they went through to their daughters. Like in this scenario, lazima ukubali yaishi. And then you will be able to raise up a generation yenye itakuwa stronger than you. From that point of view, mama mwenye ameraise msichana wake akiwa single, anatakanga kumprotect. Umeona? And that can involve so many other things. So basically we need to unlearn these issues and let them go, and let's be exposed into an environment that is out of that. Unakubali to your situation as a parent, and not fighting that msichana wangu maybe asingie kwa hiyo story. Ataingiaje huko na atakuwaje successful than I wanna. That is the most important.
So all that you're talking about, all that you're saying is what we call trauma. Childhood what? Trauma. And you may not know that I have trauma. Most of these events, they come out as an impulse. You don't even realize that it is in you. It is not like a memory in a kanga. They're not stored. Jairus, you are psychologist. They're not stored in the mind, right? Yes. They are not stored in the mind. In most cases, they resurface as an impulse. Subconscious. Thank you. We are going to learn about that. How can childhood trauma affect parenting styles? If trauma occurs in childhood and remains unsolved, it can be carried with into adulthood. Those seeking counseling and therapy are often surprised that the root cause of their current problems happened during what? It is when you're an adult and maybe you want to go for therapy and counseling. And like we said, you don't need to have a mental problem for you to go for therapy and counseling sessions. So we're not saying that those people who are going for therapy have mental issues. But it is when you are going through the counseling and the therapy sessions, that is when you realize that whatever you're having now, whatever you're trying to fight now, whatever you're trying to heal now, is something that happened back into your childhood. This is an important idea to be aware of. It is very, very important for you to be aware that you have what? You have some sort of trauma in you, because it means much of what is in your childhood. Whatever you are aware of or you are not may affect how you parent today. So that is why we are saying it is very important if you have what? You are aware. Some effects of childhood trauma can be obvious, but often those effects are hidden and can sneak into your daily life. They do what? They sneak back. They don't have to be consistent like every other time. Just a moment, and then you're like, an impulse. Then you realize, I still have a lot of anger in me. There's a lot of rage that has been harbored in me. Hata saa zingine unaweza shangaa, what happened? Mbona nimekasirika hivi? Are you saying that? This is largely because trauma is not stored in your brain like regular memories, but instead in fragments, often more strongly felt in your body instead of you being cognitively aware. In most cases, you're not even aware. Okay, how do we know that, how can we know that maybe I have some hidden trauma in me that I need to work on? How can you tell? Sasa, this is personal. This is something you're doing self-reflection. How can you tell that I have some trauma that I need to work on? I have some trauma that I need to undo, that I need to accept first, that I need to go for therapy sessions or counseling and do what? And heal. One, avoidance. This is one of the most prominent symptoms of resolved what? Trauma. You may consciously or unconsciously avoid feelings, memories, or situations that even remotely remind you of your past. You may avoid this by becoming uninvolved in your child's life or choose to drown the feelings in substance or other maladaptive behaviors. Of course, you're there as a parent. You're not an absent father. You're not an absent mother. But are you present? You're there, but you have that avoidance what? Attachment style. Alternatively, you may also limit involvement in activities that you would rather avoid. This potentially limiting their experience of involvement in something they enjoy. Like in your child's life, you're there very physically, but you know my child loves soccer. I need to go to the soccer games. I need to go to those girls, wazungu wanacheza ballet. I need to be there when my daughter anafanya nini. But because you have that trauma that is in you, you have that avoidance. You don't want. Attachment, ufanye nini? Utaki. Number 2, overly controlling. Now, this one is avoiding. This one is controlling. Yeah. Are you seeing? One is avoiding and one is doing what? Very controlling. Trauma feels like a complete loss of control in a situation that is terrifying or unsafe. Childhood trauma can affect parenting style through overcompensation by becoming overly controlling. Are we learning something? Children of over-controlling parents may become rebellious or may lack the skills needed for what? Independence. My sister there said, "Niambia kitu mimi naweza rebel." She knows that she's what? She's rebellious. Eh? Yeah, so she's able to work on that rebellion within her because at least she understands. Okay. And the skill for independence. You're overly controlling. You're always controlling your child. You don't even give that child space, time to breathe. So that child grows up without learning the skill of doing what? Independence. That child will never be independent. Because you're always there. You don't give them that chance to do what? To learn. Many also develop maladaptive behaviors to manage their feelings, such as eating disorders and substance abuse. Zapa. Zapa. Tuko hapo. Tumesemaje? Ulisema eating disorders. Why do you think eating disorder is trauma? Now I want to ask you this question. Why do you think it's trauma? You said eating disorder was
Okay, generally we think it's normal for someone to eat too much. But for me, I think it's not normal.
Yeah.
There must be something that is triggering that person to have a high rate of taking food.
Yeah.
Maybe stress or something that's happening around them. It's something I've learned when I've aged up. So
Yeah.
I think even for the kids, it does affect them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a way of coping. Thank you. It's a coping what? Mechanism. So there are so many ways of coping mechanisms. Like Zappa can choose to overeat, where another person can choose to do what?
Equally.
No, sorry. I'm so sorry. It's an example I'm giving. While another person can choose to do what? Starve. Being rude. Others can resort to substance. Thank you. Neglecting the emotional needs of your child. This is one thing that can do what? That comes as a traumatic experience. You neglect the emotional needs of your child. Parents with unresolved trauma react to Parents with unresolved trauma react to emotionally separate their children by often neglecting their what? Their needs. This is the way they react to their trauma. They do what? They separate from their children. When it comes to emotions, Ataki, I don't deal so well with emotions. Shasikia mtu anasema hivyo? Mazee, when it comes to emotions, I don't do so well. Ashakwambia he doesn't do so well with what? We need those emotions. Si ndio? Yeah. Parenting naturally creates an environment where you and your children are often exposed to a host of vulnerable emotions. We've said we need what? Emotions. So parenting naturally creates an environment where you and your children are often exposed to a host of vulnerable emotions. Emotions come with vulnerability. Sindio? Ndio tunasema that our men here don't want to do what? Hawataki emotions. It is not that hawataki emotions. They don't know how to be in touch with their emotions. It is something tulisema tutakuja kuongelelea. Tumeiongelea bado. We need to talk about why are men in touch with their emotions. In most cases, men are so in touch with their emotions. So, parenting naturally creates an environment where you and your children are often exposed to a host of vulnerable emotions, like sadness, guilt, love, anger, etc. You need to experience these emotions as a parent. Those with unresolved trauma often avoid these feelings. As a parent, you need to reach a point to feel like, I think I'm not good enough as a parent. It is a very good feeling. You need to feel guilt. What have I done? I've been absent. I've not been attending my children's function. I've not been there for my child. You need to do what? To experience those emotions. Children with emotionally unavailable parents tend to have difficulty tolerating vulnerability. We are talking about all this in the 4 parenting what? Are you seeing how they are coming up? They explain each and every type of parenting. So we say children with emotionally unavailable parents tend to have difficulty tolerating vulnerability or regretting their own emotions. These children end up to be needy, attention seekers, or emotionally withdrawn. Are you seeing how our parenting styles are affecting our children?
Yeah.
All right. What are the signs of unresolved trauma? You have extreme fear. Fears that happen without a what? A reason. Unakaa tu unasikia mazee. Fear. Right? You experience repeated panic attacks. You have a black and white thinking. Who can tell me what is black and white thinking?
Okay.
Yes. Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Yes. Yeah.
I believe this is where you have divided attention. You don't know where you're supposed to be.
Okay. Okay. Mudigo?
Black and white, it's a kind of reasoning that has no middle ground. Like, it's either white or black, like either wrong or right. There's no way you can find it. There's a gray in between. Kama ni nzuri, kama ni mbaya, ni mbaya. Yes.
Thank you. Absolute. You have an absolute way of what? Doing what? Thinking. You're either right, ama you're the worst person on earth. Hapa katikati, hauko. So those are signs of what? Unresolved trauma. Excessively blaming yourself. You don't think you're good enough. I don't think I'm fit enough. You know, you're always blaming yourself. You experience depression and feelings of worthlessness. You're worthless, you know. Watu hawanipendi. I think I can't make it, you know. Mi hizi vitu siwezi. Hata sijui, you know. You suffer from addictions, eating disorders, or even self-harm. So Zappa, eating disorders are signs of what? Unresolved trauma. We are learning, eh? I'm using Zappa's experience so that I can drive a point home. Thank you. So msianze kuambia mkiona Zappa mnasema kuna eating disorder. Oh, sawa. Thank you. Okay, how can you change your parenting style? How can you change your parenting style? We've learned about the 4 types of parenting. We've learned a bit of trauma. We've learned a bit of how can we know that we have trauma? Why do we have trauma? How to deal with trauma? How can you change your parenting style? Number 1, make sense of your past. Making sense of your past by allowing yourself to feel the pain from your childhood and learn how it is still alive in your adult experiences, feelings, and your relationship. You do what? Make sense. Accept. Kubali ya hii? Kubali ya fanya nini? Once umekubali, now we can start working on that trauma. See there? By this, you begin to process the trauma from childhood. You can better relate to your child and provide the nurture and stability they need for their better development and what? And growth. Because you've begun to process your childhood what? By this, you can better relate to your child and provide the nurture and stability they need for their better development. Because we said one aspect of parenting is doing what? Nurturing and creating that stability, creating that safety. So if you're not safe yourself, you yourself as a person, there's that trauma that you feel like you're always uko na fear kila wakati. Can you provide security?
No.
No. Okay. There's something I want to talk about here. Nimeiandika kama NB. It is called about notice how you instinctually react in various situations as your parent. Jairus mentioned that. You realize that kama mzazi wako alikuwa anakupiga ukifanya makosa, hata you don't process. Mtoto amefanya makosa, do you even take time to process? Subconsciously. It just comes subconsciously. You do what your parent used to do to you. Are these instinctual reactions the way you actually want to parent your child? Or do you find yourself going again and again to one of the trauma's rooted patterns described above? If so, these reactions may be rooted and they may be rooted in your unresolved what? Trauma. So whatever Mr. Jairus was saying, that Umekosewa? Mzazi wako ulikuwa ukikosa tu mami hata uja explain. So you find yourself subconsciously doing the same. So what is that? We are talking about parenting styles. What is that? Trauma. This is what we call trauma. The key point is to develop awareness of these patterns. Then you can begin to understand why your childhood seems to trigger certain situations in. Key point is to do what? Develop awareness of these patterns. Then you can begin to understand why your childhood triggers certain situations. Why certain situations seem to trigger your what? To trigger you. Sawa sawa. Nirudie tena. Sharon hajaelewa. Nirudie, si ndio? Naona ukifanya kichwa alafu unafika mahali ijaingia. The key point is to develop what? Awareness. You develop awareness of these patterns. One of the patterns, the one Jairus has just spoken about. And you begin to understand why your childhood, while these patterns trigger, they seem to trigger certain situations in your childhood. Unapigwa, ulikuwa ukipigwa, so unapiga mtoto wako. Then you realize imekuwa triggered by that trauma yenye ulikuwa unapitia mamako akifanya nini? You could feel as a child nimekosa, but mommy, you want to explain kabla uja explain amefanya nini?
About your actions. For example, I realized, like alisema, the way you react when your children wanaleta concern, you must be very keen. I realized, mtoto wangu akipita aanza kuniambia mami, kujai tununulia hii, I'm like, nataka kusikiza sasa, like nijidefend, ama uko na pesa utusaidie, inaweka yani ile sura. So later nikakuja kukumbuka, by the way, this is how our parents used to be. Ukianza kumwomba pesa, by the way, babangu utashinda ukimwambia shopping yako, but ikifika ile siku ya kwenda shule, ataamka ni mkali, hata huwezi muongelesha, huwezi muapproach. So atakurushia pesa pocket money, huwezi ongea, eti ni kidogo. Juu ukimwona venye yako, it is very, you cannot talk. So I realized, sasa pia mimi watoto wakileta issue ya pesa, kuna venye na behave yenye inaenda kupea watoto wangu a mindset yenye si nzuri. Right? Wengine tumekiro tukijua pesa haiko. Si ndio? Pesa iko. I change that nini narrative. Mimi mtoto wangu anasema mimi kuna pesa, namwambia niko na pesa ni mingi. Uko nataka nini? Eti nataka kitu fulani. Ni mingi lakini nimebudgetiwa kitu fulani. Sasa natafuta yenye kufanya nini? Nitabudgetia hii kitu. Watoto wetu wagrow wakijua money is there. We serve a God of abundance. The universe is in abundance. So that's what I'm really working on myself. Mtoto wangu akiniomba pesa, I don't want to have that negative reactions. Like pesa ni kitu yenye it's meant for us, right? So to me, that's what I'm working on currently. It's easy to pick those mishaps. Thank you so much.
Sasa hapo kwa the feelings of guilt.
Yes.
Nachuna mora, at the end of the day nakaa najiuliza sasa why? And then she's back, amekuja anisha mchuna amelia amemaliza, she's back. Mami, nakupenda. Sasa najiuliza why did I do that? Mbona nimefanya hivyo? So far so good, sijaona, sijaji-identify what might be the problem, because enyewe naweza mchuna simchapi lakini I can pinch vizuri sana. My grandmother used to pinch me.
Yeah, that's how even but in a pig. Like
alitulea my mom akiwa shule. Yes, she used to.
Now you're replaying the pattern.
Yes.
And your daughter will replay that pattern. You don't break it.
Ukimchuna sasa next time, mchuna ukimwambia sababu ya mchuna. Then atalearn why anapanishiwa. Rather than punish her for no good reason.
Yeah.
Just punishing her, she will feel like you're doing it wrong, like you're wronging her. The current generation ukiwapiga na kuuliza mbona anapiga mama? Nimefanya nini? So mwambie kwanza umevunja sahani, hautakula jioni. Juu hiyo sahani ndio ulikuwa unafaa utumie. Sasa juu hakuna mpaka tupate pesa tununue ingine, hautakula leo. So unapata kesho. Then atakuwa responsible enough. Atakuwa responsible. Akifanya nini fulani, hatapita sahani.
So, allow me to explain to her.
Yes.
When your grandma used to pinch you, how was the feeling? Ulikuwa na feel aje?
Sikulia tu. I used to cry.
Yes.
And then sasa I used to miss mom because mom was in school.
Yeah, you were feeling like there's something when you miss angekwa, it could be comfortable, right? Could you wish your child to feel the same?
Sitaki afili.
You feel the same. Then you need to do that one. You need to. And again, before you punish your child, what's the motive? I mean, would they think the class will not be one? Would they think the class will not be one? Sahani. Sijaiteleza nianguke chini. Yeah, before upanish mtoto, ni nini unampanisha? Jua ameteleza akaanguka. Jua ameenda kupita kikombe kaanguka maziwa ikamwagika. I mean, wewe nikikufanyia hivyo utasikia vizuri. Then why are you punishing that child?
So to add on that, mtoto afai kuachwa hivyo. And then hata hiyo punishment pia ifai tena kuwa too much. Lakini ifai kumiss. So tukisha make peace na hiyo past yetu, so we'll be correcting and punishing the child correctly or rightly. Like when you amesema ukimpunish si ati ni itakuwa ile compulsive kitu. Itakuwa ni juu ya the motive ni kumcorrect. Na vile amesema unamcorrect kumwambia the mistake.
Yes. Jamani. Sasa hapa ndio mambo yote.
Because it is very real, and why this session is very important, it is because of the term unfinished businesses. If we have issues from the past, from our childhood, remember, it will affect you positively or negatively. That is the thing. You will be proud. Ladies, you'll bear with me. Is there a situation you do things and you remember mommy used to do the way you do? Are there kinds of foods or the way you serve, even the way you cook? You remember nimebea nilifunza hii? As your role model. Everything you do, even the time you serve your children. When una serve unaona unajatosheka and you feel like no one else should serve your children other than you. Ukiwaserve unaona wow, ukiwaserve unaona wanashiba. Ukiwaachia house help hauamini the ile alisema ya overprotection. There's this like for example where a mama has children but she has girls alone. She suffered rejection, stigma, discrimination. So, her mama suffered because alipata watoto wasichana. Lakini wamefika at their time wame-excel. You know, when she gets also her children and she gets girls, she will not even allow her daughters to visit their home. Overprotection. Kama ni kwenda, awapeleke na hakikishe, you know, it is in her. It is in her that my children may not be safe in absentia. I must be there. So, childhood experience, it does not matter your background. It doesn't matter whether you were brought up by a single parent, by mommy, by daddy, by both of them. Whoever brought you as a guardian or as a parent, it doesn't matter. What matters is, whatever you are doing, are you, you know, are you doing it in your senses? Are you sober? Or it is a reflection of feelings? Ile, unajua unachapa mtoto unamwambia mwananisumbua. Why are you saying mwananisumbua na mtoto mmoja sasa hiyo? Amemes, unamchapa kinaambia mwananisumbua kama baba yenu, mwananisumbua kama mama yenu. You know, you are now generalizing, you are not specific, so that you tell this child, Mom, I don't like what you did. I don't like this. You do it next time, I'll beat you. Because they also have feelings, they also want change, and they also fear punishment. But sasa sisi, whatever we do, we are doing it with emotions, with our own stresses. Ndio unasikia kwa mzazi, mbona mzazi achape mtoto ajamekojewa kwa sofa set mpaka anaua? Bibi amekojewa sofa set, kwani kukojewa kwa sofa set nini? Anapiga mtoto mpaka anamaliza anaua. Why? Kwa nini mama na baba wakikosana, baba anachukua watoto anaweka kwa meza anakatakata kama nyama? Anakata mmoja akimaliza tena anachukua mwingine anakatakata anamaliza. It is because of the childhood experiences. For example, our life was not so good. It was not good at all. It was dirty. You know, I saw Nani cry during the vetting, Juma. Nikasema, I wish, yes, Aisha, I wish I got chance also to speak about myself.
Yes.
You know, it was a very dirty childhood life. It was very dirty. It was a bad one, eh? But that childhood has not traumatized me negatively. It has given me the energy. The energy that I feel people should listen about my story so that they do not feel that they are alone ama walipitia makubwa sana. And sometimes I am proud of that. My baby boy, you were talking and I remember, and even from yesterday when we were analyzing your head, I was trying to remember how I knew you. I was I was looking at you on the photo, and now I was trying to process how did I know Jairus, what was this session, what were these issues, and at one time I was saying one day I'll ask you. So, our issues, I have a lady who said she will never get married. She said she wanted a baby. Atatafuta tu mtu ampatie mtoto, lakini hataki bwana. Kwa nini? Alikuwa anatembea kwa mama yake kwa macho. My mother suffered on a man's hands. I will never. She's not married to date. She has a baby. Childhood experiences. It has negatively affected her. Then courtship alisema ataki kabisa ataki mwanaume. But she has a baby. And many more. So our childhood experience is just about how did you negotiate? Yes, you were affected, but were you able to negotiate so that ukiwa kwa sitting room, you don't every time sympathize with your partner, atunaishi naye na kumhurumia, ama yani unamwona, you know, the way your father aliwasumbua na kwa familia yenu kwa nyumba, and then na yeye unamwona kama yule baba yako, you know, you will see your partner as that parent mwenye aliwasumbua kwa nyumba. So respect hakuna, love hakuna, but every time there is that barrier that after all men are not good. Kwanza anakaa tu kama mwanadamu. That you see that father figure, the good father and the bad father will always be ahead of you. And I have seen cases where someone says, I don't want my child to suffer. We suffered enough. Or I suffered enough in my family, so I don't want my child to suffer or my children to suffer. So me, I think about childhood trauma, ni maneno ya negotiation. And then negotiation. Were you able to move on? How did you negotiate? How has it affected you positively or negatively? Does it make you feel bitter? Every contact you are with someone, una feel bitter? Ama your boss coming to you akikuuliza kitu, unakasirika naye because unamwona anaongea kama baba yako.